Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason. I'm your watch guy today. So let me pose you a question. What is the perfect homage? Now we have a lot of homages on this channel. I quite like them myself. I think they're usually a way of people accessing a market that is usually unattainable, especially when you think of brands like Rolex. Even the people with the money for a Rolex can't buy a Rolex. And that brings me nicely into a little circle here. Today I am reviewing a homage that got a lot of you excited. I did the unboxing video this time last week, and it's been sent to me by a gent called Vincent. Now he runs the Asia Mechanical Watch group on Facebook. I'll link them in the description. They also have an online store. I will also link that in the description because that's where you can pick this piece up. Today I'm reviewing their collaboration with Mathey-Tissot to create this. This is a homage to the Rolex Explorer 5500. I think this is close to being the most perfect homage that I have ever reviewed on this channel. I know they're big words because I've reviewed a lot and I've reviewed plenty in different price ranges. But this one is Swiss made, has a Swiss movement, a Swiss automatic high beat movement. It has all the aesthetics that you could wish for. It comes in at 34mm, just like the original, but it's only $399, which I think is an incredible price for what you're getting here. So let me turn this camera around and let me get this review on the way. So guys, I am going to start this review off in a way that I've never started a review before, and that is looking at the back of this watch. Now it is marked with Asia Mechanical Watches Group exclusive. You can only pick it up on their website. It's a really nice screw down Rolex style caseback. A little bit of polishing, a little bit of brushing, as you'd expect. Now you're thinking, Jason, why are you talking to me about the caseback? Well, it's not actually that I want to point your attention to. When I unboxed this watch, there was a lot of hesitation about the movement and whether it was Swiss or not. Now it's listed with a Tissot 224 movement, or an MT369, which is Mathey-Tissot's, build on top of a Tissot 224, which is a Swiss movement. Now, Mathey-Tissot were actually founded in 1886 in the Swiss Jura Mountains. They've supplied the US Army in World War I and the US and British Army in World War II. They have a very good history in watchmaking. So it surprised me that a lot of people were doubtful of what they had in this. In fact, there was one certain watcher who was very persistent, and also every time someone commented about the movement and asked me a question, he'd also comment afterwards saying that this movement didn't exist, or that they were lying, that Mathey-Tissot were lying to us about this. So I thought the only way to really prove that it's got a Tissot 224 movement in is take the back off it and show you. Now before I do this, this is actually my watch to keep. I didn't say that in the unboxing because I didn't know I was keeping it at that point. Vincent was very, very kind and said, you know what, you can keep hold of that one. Yeah, this is what YouTube called a paid promotion. So I get why people would be hesitant to believe what I say about it, but I've never lied to you in the past, and I'm not going to start for the sake of a $399 watch. It's just not worth it to me. It's not worth the reputation. So let me pop this off and we'll see what we have. I've already unscrewed it, but I haven't looked yet. So this will be a surprise for all of us. Okay, so that is a Mathey-Tissot signed rotor. So we have 28 joules. Now I believe this is a 28,800 beat per hour movement. And there we have it. Just at the top of your screen there, it says Tissot P224. That's exactly what they told us was in this one. And yeah, as you can see, that's the movement. I also have a few diagrams to show you. Vincent sent me these over when I asked him if he could clarify the movement, the origin, everything like that. And yeah, he was kind enough to help out because obviously he knows that this is a quality built watch. It's a Swiss made movement. And there we have it, guys. So it is a Swiss movement and it is still $399. So now we've got that out of the way, let's talk about the watch itself. Obviously the dimensions are a talking point on this one. They've tried to make it as close as possible to the original Explorer, the 5500. So diameter is 34.5 millimeters here to here. It is 13.5 millimeters thick, which is actually quite chunky for what it is. Obviously a lot to do with that is the crystal, and the caseback obviously bulks it out a little bit. The lug to lug is 43 millimeters. However, we do have male end links. Now, these do curve very nicely to wrist, so they will fit a smaller wrist very well. But for those who are worried that this doesn't have enough presence on wrist, or it won't feel big enough for them, those end links bring us up to a 48.5 millimeter lug to lug, which is pretty much in the ballpark of any general watch. Obviously, the diameter is quite small, but it gives you a really vintage type of feel to it. Now, as I mentioned while we were looking at the movement, it is a Tissot 224. It is a 28,800 beats per hour movement, and I've seen two different references for the power reserve. I've seen them rated at 44 hours, and I've seen them rated at 38. So if we are on the lower side, it is a 38-hour power reserve movement. As you can see, we have a polished fixed bezel on this one, really nice piece. And one thing I will say, the finishing on this case is absolutely sublime. For the price range that they have brought this to the market at, it's fantastic, it really is. As you can see, it's high polish on the sides, high polish on this side. We have a really nice level of circular brushing on the lugs. Very nice finishing on this one. We have drilled lugs here also. As I move over to this side, we have a signed crown with the Mathey-Tissot logo. Here's a coin edge, screw down crown. Now this is a hacking and hand winding movement. One thing, however, is that it is also built with a date function. So you do have that ghost date position. Let's lock that back in. As we move to the back, I have mentioned that this is a screw down Rolex style caseback, as you may expect for an Explorer Homage. What else would we put on this? One thing that really does set off the casing and the design of this watch and brings you back to the early days of the Rolex Explorer is that domed crystal. They've listed this on their website on the description as an anti-reflex sapphire crystal, a domed anti-reflex sapphire crystal. Together with the casing, this provides the watch with 50 meters of water resistance, which you may think is low, but I don't suppose this is intended for getting wet. You're not going to take it diving, you're not really going to take it swimming. I believe that this is made for that sports watch type of occasion, that maybe dressy type of occasion. I understand that is a slightly thicker case than you would like for a dress watch. However, I do believe that this would match perfectly with a suit or a tie and shirt. I think it's absolutely perfect for that type of look. As we move into the dial, you can see that is a flat black dial. As flat black dials go, I know it's a strange thing to say, but it's actually really nice. I think the level of finishing on it, the level of texture is just perfect. Not to take too much away from the actual watch itself, but you know, it's got that matte type of effect that bounces really well with the rest of the casing, especially with that really high polish on the bezel. As you can see around the edge of the dial, we have a printed minute track, a stick printed minute track. It is rather elongated, or rather it's elongated by the crystal that they've installed on this watch. Up at the 12 o'clock, we have a triangle index. Then at the 3, 6 and 9, we have those really vintage aesthetic, vintage font numerals. That really sets this entire design off. Obviously, it is a homage to the Explorer, which would have had the exact same numerals on it, the same font. I just think that's absolutely gorgeous. The batons finish the rest of the hour markers as we have expected. They are all printed in white, and up at the 12 o'clock, just below the 12 o'clock even, we have the Mathey-Tissot Genève logo. Below the handset, we have the label for the automatic. Not too much text on this, very simple dial, very simple design, but very effective. Either side of the 6 o'clock marker, we have Swiss made printed to the dial. That is the all important part of this homage, because we all know that we pay a premium for Swiss made products. They are usually a step above the rest, and to be honest, this one hits on a different level to most Homages that I've reviewed. Again, as you would expect from this Homage, we have a Mercedes handset. One thing that I would like to point out though, that Mercedes logo is also the Mathey-Tissot logo, so I don't know how much grief you can give them for using the Mercedes handset. I know a lot of people will harp back to, well, that's all people use on dials, that's all people use in Homages, that Mercedes handset, but, you know, it's kind of their logo. Can we hate them that much for it? The second hand sweeps very nicely to the minute track, as you can see it meeting it there. It has a lollipop end to it. That is a loomed lollipop end. Speaking of loom, let me show you this loom shot. I'm going to turn the lights out and we are going to get the UV torch. So here we have the loom already. Let's get the UV torch out and let's examine what we have here. Now, I don't know if you can see this through the camera, but the loom on the minute hand isn't exactly applied very evenly. That is one downside. However, the rest of the dial is applied rather well, and it does seem to be lasting rather well also in. I wouldn't have expected this to be lighting up the room. I do think that this is the standard I expected. It's not as bright as it could be, but for the style of watch that it is and for the Homage that it is, I understand why they haven't concentrated too much of the time, effort, and more importantly, funding on the loom of this one. Now, as we move away from the head of this watch, from where all the action is, where all that lovely design is, we move on to this bracelet. Here's an oyster style bracelet. It is a 3-link system and it tapers rather lovely. As you can see there, it does fin rather well. Let me just get some measurements on that for you. So we go all the way down to 16 millimeters at the clasp, which makes this bracelet really easy to wear. It makes it really comfortable. We have a riveted style bracelet here on this one, which actually really nice style. I think it fits this watch very well. I think it gives a little bit of class to it. I think it gives a little bit of an industrial feel also. These are solid end links. These are double screw links also. One thing that I will mention is the screws do need to be in tight. You don't want to be losing any of those. It is a lovely brushed finish throughout the bracelet and onto the clasp. We have a signed clasp here, as you can see with the Mathey-Tissot logo. Double pushers, milled clasp, and we have 3 levels of micro adjusts. I'll let them off with 3 levels of micro adjust. The amount of adjustment that you can get into this bracelet is rather good also. As I did mention, these are double screw links and I will come back to them in a second. Let me pop this on wrist for you before we get to the moan section and show you where the magic really is. So I have 6.2 inch wrists, and to be perfectly fair, this one doesn't look feminine at all on my wrist, and I don't think it would on many wrists, to be honest. A lot of people in the watch market at the minute only concentrate on watches that are between 38 and 42 millimeters, and to be completely fair, I was one of them until Vincent sent this out to me, and it's completely changed my look on watches, on watch sizes. It's just absolutely gorgeous and it fits so well to wrist, but it gives you that vintage type of feel to it. Obviously watches back in the 60s, 70s were a lot smaller, even leading into the 90s, the 2000s, they were a lot smaller than what they are today, and this gives you a little feel of that. And I can see why the vintage Rolexes of this size are still so popular to this day. Now let me pop this off wrist. Let's talk about a couple of moans on this one. First of all, the screw links on the bracelet. Now they are double screws. I'm not the biggest fan of those. These were easy to take out and replace. However, you do have to screw them in quite tight, and Vincent has also advised that you should use some screw glue on these, like Loctite, something like that. That's what I'm going to do on this one, just so they stay in place, because the last thing that you want is to lose one of these screws. Now, I believe that these are tight enough for me not to lose any. However, I don't want to take the chance with it. Now, moving on from that, a lot of people are going to harp back to the size. If it's just not for you, it's just not for you. But I do think a lot of people should consider this type of size. I feel like you should have something like this in your collection if you have, you know, a good few watches. It's the perfect gap between a dress watch and a sports watch for me. But as I say, that size won't be for everyone. And thirdly, the lume. It's not the best in the world. However, they're not concentrating on it, so I understand why. It is a lume dial. All the indices are lumed as you would expect, and it will last for a good while. It's just not a diver type of level. In conclusion, I think, as I've said already in this video, people should consider this watch. It is $399, and for that price, I just think it's a steal. The one competition that this has in the market, I think, is the Smith's Everest. Same type of style, but try and pick one up. Even better, try and pick one up at this price. You're just not going to. I think this really does give a little bit of contention into the market. I believe it brings some competition to the market. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So guys, that is the Mathey-Tissot collaboration with AMWG, the Asia Mechanical Watch Group. Please go and follow their page on Facebook. There's plenty of other brilliant watches that they collaborate with, and there's plenty of interesting posts on that page all the time. Also, check out their shop if you want to pick this up. That's the only place you're going to get one of these. I don't actually know how long they're going to last, so probably be quick about it. I think if you're a fan of a vintage Rolex Explorer, especially the 5500, I just don't think there's a better option for you at $400. It's just a bargain. It really is. Now, I hope I've cleared up the whole issue of the movement in this one, because a lot of people were very skeptical about it. So hopefully I've gone a little way to helping you out with that. Again, I'd like to thank Vincent for sending this one in for me. I absolutely love it. I really do. I absolutely love it. So yeah, it's going to be an absolute staple in my collection. I don't have anything else that's 34mm, so I don't really have any competition for it. But if I did, I think this would knock them out the park, to be honest. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, guys, and I will see you in the next one.